FBI Director Kash Patel walked into that room promising no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stone left unturned. He walked out refusing to say whether Donald Trump's name appears in the Epstein files, refusing to meet with the victims, refusing to launch any new investigations. A Republican congressman asked him point-blank about FD 302 documents that name at least 20 powerful men. Patel's answer? Previous administrations looked at the same files and found nothing credible. Then, a Democrat spent 10 minutes detailing Patel's children's books about a wizard named Kash who serves King Donald, his false tweets during a manhunt, his purging of experienced agents, his polygraph tests for political loyalty. The mask came off. This is not a hearing. It's a cover-up in real time. Let's watch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, I watched some of your Senate hearing yesterday when Senator Kennedy asked you, you've seen most of the files, who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these women to besides himself? You replied, according to the transcript, there is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else. You also said somewhere in the hearing and here today that the problem is that the case files are constrained by limited search warrants from 2006 to 2007 and that the non-prosecution agreement hamstrung future investigations. Those constraints only apply to the Southern District of Florida. They do not apply to the Southern District of New York, the location of the 2019 sex trafficking indictment, which produced many things, including a series of FD 302 documents. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to, victims including minors, such as Virginia Roberts Giuffre, may she rest in peace. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, the files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
Sir, I have asked my FBI agents to review the entirety of the Epstein files and bring forth any credible information. And we're working with Congress not only to divulge that information and produce it to you, but any investigations that arise from any credible investigation will be brought. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to a probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of two different United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations who investigated those same materials in lifetime.
Are the 302 documents in the FBI's possession?
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
And so have you reviewed those 302 documents where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here and in front of the Senate and say there are no names?
I said
I named one today.
I said we are not in the practice at the Department of Justice FBI of releasing victims' names. That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have looked at the entirety of what we have.
Okay, I got to move on here. Were you present when the AG had the White House event when she released the binders to the social media influencers?
I was, yes.
So if you're willing to meet with social media influencers who stood to benefit from the sensational and sad stories of these victims, will you meet with the victims as well?
The FBI will meet with anyone who has new information.
Will you personally meet with them?
The FBI and the professionals who are handling the cases will.
Were you instructed that it was important to release the documents to the Oversight Committee on the day of my introduction of the discharge petition to release these files?
I don't know what day that was, so no.
Well, they were released that day, and there were victims' names who weren't redacted because they were in such a rush, and the victims are not happy about that. Have you investigated any of the CIA connections? Have you seen the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein? And if you wanted to see it, would they show it to you?
Well, I can speak for the FBI, and that's presuming there's a CIA case file. And I've reviewed everything that the interagency, not I, the FBI, that was provided to us.
Would you be willing to look at the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein?
If there is such a file, and if it has not already been turned over to the FBI will look at any new investigative leads.
Have you made any progress on the pipe bomb investigation January 6th? And have you made any progress on the motive of the Las Vegas shooter?
As to the first, it's an ongoing investigation, and we have made progress. As to the second, sir, I'll have to get back to you.
Mr. Patel, before you joined the FBI, you had very strong opinions about what the FBI was hiding regarding Jeffrey Epstein. In a September 2023 interview with Glenn Beck, you said the Black Book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. In December 2023, you said, let us know who the pedophiles are. Even for a short time after becoming FBI director, in February of 2025, you tweeted, quote, there will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stone left unturned. In June, you told Joe Rogan, quote, we've reviewed all the information, we're gonna give you every single thing we have and can. But then suddenly in July, everything changed. You and Attorney General Pam Bondi released one video and said that there was nothing more to see. Your July memo says you uncovered more than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence, but that you had decided no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. That is a quote. I think what happened, Mr. Patel, is that suddenly you discovered that Donald Trump's name was all over these files, and you started a giant cover-up. So you are under oath, Mr. Patel. You just testified to Mr. Swalwell that you did not speak to the president about the Epstein files. To your knowledge, did Attorney General Pam Bondi speak to the president about what was in the Epstein files?
I can't speak for Attorney General Pam Bondi.
So to your knowledge, you don't have any information. The question was, do you have any knowledge? Do you have any knowledge?
I can't speak.
You are refusing to answer the question, so let me tell you that the Wall Street Journal reported that in May, Bondi told Trump that he was in the Epstein files, and at the same meeting said that the DOJ did not plan to release the files. Yesterday, you testified to Senator Kennedy that there was, quote, no credible information that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone else, and that you have, quote, continuously and publicly asked the public to come forward with more information, and we'll look into it. Today, in response to Mr. Massie's question, you appeared to say that the survivors were not credible. These are survivors.
That's not at all what I said.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask you this in a second, but let me tell you about the survivors, and let's bring them up here into the room. These are women who came to the Hill and testified that they were groomed and raped at the age of 14 and 16 years old, and they called to meet with the president and to meet with the FBI and to have people investigate their claims. Some of them have never testified before. If you are so interested in getting the public to submit any information, why have you not met with them? You said you haven't met with them. Have you met with them? I'll give you one more chance.
My job as the FBI director is to invite all investigative leads. Is the answer yes or no to whether or not you met with these women who were sexually abused and raped? Any insinuation by you or any people on your side that I am not manhunting child predators and sex traffickers, just look at the stats. And you talk about cover-ups, man.
Mr. Chairman,
you talk about cover-ups.
And I will take as much time as
Where were you during the Obama and Biden administrations when these so-called cover-ups were going on? Why didn't anyone in those administrations talk to any of these purported witnesses? I have welcomed every single person to provide credible information.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Washington. Washington.
And I'm going to take
when
another
you
couple
accuse
of
the
minutes.
witness of something, he's allowed to respond. That's how it works. You say
Listen,
something,
he didn't even, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, you have always been fair. But this is not fair.
And you will get
no, this is my time, and he said that the witnesses were not credible.
Seconds of time.
I'm going to get an additional minute of time because that's how much time he took.
You won't get a minute. You'll get some seconds. What we think is under 5 minutes. You don't get to demand how much time you get. That's not how it works.
Mr. Patel, are the victims of the Jeffrey Epstein horrific trafficking ring, are they credible?
Any person with information about ongoing sexual trafficking.
I'm asking you if they're credible.
Ma'am, I'm commenting on the evidence we have.
But
we have routinely asked for people to come forward with more evidence, and we will look at it. And the evidence that we have was the same evidence that the Biden and Obama Justice Departments had. And they determined, not me, they determined that information was not credible.
Chairman, he's not letting me even ask my questions.
You ask the questions, he gives an answer. You may not like what he says, but that doesn't mean you get to interrupt him.
He's not answering my question.
Mr. Chairman, could we restore the gentlelady 45 seconds so she can
complete her question? We will give her additional
30
seconds, which is what I said earlier.
I'm going to keep taking my time. Because
no, you'll take the time that you get.
You are not answering the question. The question is,
you just don't like the answer.
Are these women credible? It's a yes or no answer.
I have answered the question.
Well, what is the answer?
I'm telling you, I'm the only FBI director that has welcomed new information in this case. This administration is the only one that has welcomed any new information in this case.
Is there a yes or no to
present new credible information? Present new information.
Are the victims credible or not?
I'll tell you what happened in the last Trump administration.
Are they credible or not? You can't even
Victims
say.
credibly came forward, and you know what happened? President Trump authorized the indictments of Jeffrey Epstein.
Called them
not Biden,
a hoax.
not Obama.
President Trump
no one else.
called the entire thing a Democratic hoax. So I would like to ask
the gentlelady's time has expired. I gave her the additional 45 seconds she requested. The gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for his 5 minutes.
If you would meet with the women who were sexually abused and raped and groomed at the ages of 14 and 16 years old. Are you going to cover up? Are you going to continue to cover up for the rich and powerful men, including those that might be on this committee?
I can yell too, Mr. Chairman, but I don't want to yell above this.
The time belongs to the gentleman from New Jersey. I appreciate the gentlelady yielding back.
Are you going to allow them to testify, Mr. Patel?
Go ahead.
Will you allow them to testify to you, Mr. Patel?
Director, the first time you saw Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files. Did you close the files or keep reading?
I have reviewed not the entirety of the files, so I have.
You haven't reviewed all of the Epstein files?
Personally, no.
You're the director of the FBI. This is the largest sex trafficking case the FBI has ever been a part of. Buck stops at the top, and your testimony today is you have not reviewed all of the files.
What I've been doing is been busy providing the safest country this country has seen in modern U.S. history in historic speed, because the men and women of the FBI are given the resources to reduce the homicide rate, to reduce the drug trafficking rate, to reduce the amount of children that are being trafficked, and the number of
it sounds like those children being trafficked would appreciate the director reviewing the files. You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at least be 1,000 times?
We have released every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Claiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times.
It's not. It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number, but it's not that.
Do you think it might be your job to know the number?
My job is to provide for the safety and security of this country. My job is not to engage in political innuendo so you can go out to the sticks and get your 20-second hit in your fundraising article. And keep going, reclaiming your time, because the people of California are being underserved by your representation.
If the president is not implicated, why not release everything that involves him?
We have released everything, the president and anyone else's side, that is credible and lawfully be able to be released. Your fixation on this matter and baseless accusations that I'm hiding child pedophiles is disgusting. Anyone that says that needs to look at the stats alone and go back to the state of California, who's receiving the biggest surge in FBI resources through my redeployment, because the cities of Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco need it.
Director, remembering your oath to tell the truth, did you ever tell Donald Trump his name is in the files?
I have never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files.
Did you ever tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The Attorney General and I have had numerous discussions about the entirety of the Epstein files and the reviews conducted by our team.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
And we have released where President Trump's name is in the Attorney's
It's a simple question.
file.
Did you tell the Attorney General that the President's name is in the Epstein files?
During many conversations that the Attorney General and I have had on the matter of Epstein, we have reviewed.
The question is simple.
Who
did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes
if you're gonna
or
mock
no,
me?
Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No? A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F?
it sounds like you don't want to tell us. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files?
Why don't you try serving your constituency
Director,
by
did you tell the
focusing on
Attorney
reducing
General
violent
that Donald
crime in this
Trump's name-
country and the number of pedophiles that are
Director,
illegally
reclaim my
harbored
time,
in your
Director.
sanctuary cities in
Director,
California?
reclaim
I'll
my
work with
time.
you on that. Do
Regular
you wanna
order, Mr.
work with us
Chairman.
on that?
Director,
I
reclaim my
belongs to the
time.
gentleman from California.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
Question has been asked and answered.
You've not answered it, and we will take your evasiveness as a consciousness of guilt. Director, did Donald Trump ever say to you, just find and release the entire truth? Don't worry if I'm in it.
The instructions from the administration were to release all credible information, and we have done that.
Did Donald Trump ever provide information about Jeffrey Epstein as an informant?
Donald Trump has not been, and I can only speak for the FBI, an informant of the FBI.
So, Director, you've played this cute shell game where you say you can't release everything because the court has said that it legally is not allowed to be released, but the court calls bullshit. Judge Richard Berman said that when you went to the court, quote, information contained in the Epstein grand jury transcripts pales in comparison to Epstein investigation information and materials in the hands of the Department of Justice. So let's move on, Director. You wrote a book called Government Gangsters. You identified 20 individuals in that book. You put me on that list at the top of the list. Thank you. My children find it flattering. 20 of those individuals have been investigated or have had adverse actions. Director, considering that you have identified these people as, quote, government gangsters, will you recuse yourself from making any investigation decisions about these individuals?
Anyone that has been terminated at the FBI has been done so
the
because
question
they failed
again.
to meet the muster and
Director,
their constitutional
I will
obligation.
work on the audio-visual capabilities.
I'm
of
going to
the rooms. I
borrow
don't think
your
you can hear me.
terminology and call
I'm reclaiming
bullshit
my
on your
time.
entire career in
I'm
Congress.
reclaiming my
It
time,
has been
Director.
a disgrace to the American
Director, I'm
people.
reclaiming my
You
time.
can reclaim your
Will you
time all you
recuse
want.
yourself?
Chairman, you're going to allow a witness to speak
Gentlemen,
this way? Mr. Chairman, would you
You'll
give...
recuse yourself, Director.
The gentleman has no time.
Mr. Chairman, would you
Mr.
admonish the
Chairman,
witness not to insult members?
The gentleman has no time.
Mr. Chairman,
the
just
committee will remember.
Quick point of order. Could the gentleman be extended an additional 20 seconds to complete his thoughts since the witness decided to interrupt him
And
continuously?
then the witness will be able to respond if he wants. We'll make sure
Thank
he has
you.
time to do that.
My question
We'll
is,
continue.
will you, Director, recuse yourself, yes or no, from investigating or making decisions about the 60 individuals, including myself, that you identified as government gangsters? Yes or no?
Time of the gentleman has expired. The witness may respond if he would like.
And the answer was no, as I heard.
This hearing is a masterclass in political evasiveness, and Kash Patel is the reluctant star. Thomas Massie opens by laying out something that should be impossible to ignore. Victims cooperating with the FBI named at least 20 men in FD-302 documents. A Hollywood producer, a royal prince, a rock star, a magician. 6 billionaires, including one from Canada. These names exist in FBI files. Patel controls those files. And when Massie asks if he's launched any investigations, Patel says he's asked agents to review the files. That's not an answer. That's a delay tactic wrapped in bureaucratic language. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment. Not because there's no evidence, not because the victims aren't credible, but because 2 United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations looked at the same materials and decided they weren't credible. Patel is hiding behind previous administrations, which is ironic given that he spent years accusing those same administrations of covering up the Epstein files. He wanted transparency when he was on the outside. Now that he's on the inside, suddenly the files are empty. Suddenly the victims aren't credible. Suddenly, the only thing that's changed is that Donald Trump is president and Patel is his FBI director. Massie then asks a question that exposes the heart of the hypocrisy. If Patel is willing to meet with social media influencers at a White House event to release binders of Epstein documents, will he personally meet with the victims? Patel dodges. The FBI will meet with anyone who has credible information. That's not what Massie asked. He asked if Patel personally would meet with them. The answer, clearly, is no. The victims who were groomed and raped at 14 and 16 years old, who came to the Hill to testify, who have been waiting years for someone in power to take them seriously, they are not credible enough for a face-to-face meeting with the director of the FBI. But social media influencers who can generate clicks and outrage, they get a White House event. That tells you everything you need to know about where Patel's priorities lie. Then the hearing pivots to Jamie Raskin, who spends nearly 10 minutes delivering a devastating character assessment. He starts with praise. Patel is a breakthrough as a first-generation Indian-American Hindu leading an agency once run by a white supremacist, closeted homosexual who refused to hire anyone different from himself. But then the praise ends. Raskin lays out Patel's fairy tale children's books. Cash the Knight serving King Donald, catching mules, stealing the election from Sleepy Joe, taking down the dragon of the DOJ. This is not a resume for FBI director. This is the fantasy life of someone who sees himself as a character in a story, not a public servant bound by law and facts. Raskin then details Patel's performance during the Charlie Kirk assassination manhunt. While the killer was still on the loose, Patel was dining at a swanky Midtown Manhattan restaurant and tweeting false information that the suspect was in custody, a statement he had to retract an hour later. Even Christopher Rufo, a culture warrior who sat in Patel's chair as a Republican witness, called for his ouster, saying he performed terribly. Raskin accuses Patel of running the FBI not as a law enforcement agency, but as a political enforcement agency working directly for the president's vengeance campaign. He details the purges. Experienced counterterrorism agents fired because they worked on cases against the president. Brian Driscoll, a decorated 20-year veteran, told that his job depended on removing agents regardless of whether those agents chose to work on those cases. The leader of the Salt Lake City field office fired weeks before Charlie Kirk's assassination, depriving the FBI of a legendary counterterrorism expert who would have led the manhunt. Senior leadership forced to take polygraph tests to prove political loyalty. And then Raskin gets to the Epstein files. He accuses Patel of ordering hundreds of agents to pore over the files not to find new leads, not to identify co-conspirators, but to make sure Donald Trump's name and image were flagged and redacted wherever they appeared. He cites the Wall Street Journal report that in May, Bondi told Trump his name appeared multiple times throughout the files, and at the same meeting said the DOJ did not plan to release the files. He points to the birthday note Trump wrote to Epstein over a drawing of a woman's naked body, referencing a wonderful secret, a document the Oversight Committee obtained from the Epstein estate, not from the FBI, raising questions about whether the FBI has been withholding evidence. Raskin's conclusion is brutal. Patel went from being a crusader for accountability to being part of the cover-up because of who's on that list. The same reason Patel himself gave for why the files were hidden in the first place. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. After Raskin yields, Jordan takes over and asks Patel the questions that should have been asked at the very beginning. Have you reviewed all the Epstein files? No, not personally. You're the director of the FBI, the largest sex trafficking case in bureau history, and you haven't read the files. How many times does Trump's name appear? Patel refuses to say. He says it's not 1,000, not 500, not 100, but he doesn't know the number. When Jordan presses, Patel accuses him of political innuendo and fundraising, then pivots to attacking California's sanctuary cities. Jordan asks a simple yes or no question. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Patel dodges 4 times. He says he's had numerous discussions. He says they've reviewed the files. He says the question has been asked and answered. But he never says yes. He never says no. He just refuses to answer. Jordan calls it consciousness of guilt, and he's right. If the answer were no, Patel would have said no. If the answer were yes but innocent, he would have said yes with an explanation. The only reason to dodge is that the truth is damaging. Finally, Jordan asks Patel about his book Government Gangsters, where he identified 20 individuals as government gangsters, including Jordan himself, at the top of the list. Jordan asks Patel to recuse himself from investigating or making decisions about those individuals. Patel's response is to insult Jordan's audiovisual capabilities and call his entire career a disgrace. He never says yes. He never says no. But when the time expires, Jordan notes that the answer was no, as he heard. And that's the theme of this entire hearing. Patel came in promising transparency. He leaves having refused to answer basic questions. He came in promising to release everything. He leaves having released nothing of substance. He came in accusing previous administrations of covering up. He leaves having become the cover-up. The victims of Jeffrey Epstein sat in that room and watched the director of the FBI refuse to call them credible. They watched him refuse to meet with them. They watched him refuse to launch investigations into the men whose names they provided years ago. And they watched him protect the president whose name appears in those files, whose relationship with Epstein is well documented, whose birthday note to a dead sex trafficker includes the phrase, "wonderful secret." This hearing didn't reveal new evidence. It revealed something worse, a system that protects the powerful, run by a man who wrote children's books about being a knight for the king, now sitting at the helm of America's premier law enforcement agency, refusing to answer whether he's hiding pedophiles. The survivors have been waiting for justice for decades. After this hearing, they know they'll be waiting a while longer,